Welcome to Full Scope, a podcast with two guys in their 20s giving their perspective on the games that we love, headlines of pop culture, the meaning behind it all. I'm your host, Wellington Burns, with my counterpart, Savon Morris. How's it going, man?
It's going pretty good,
really
man.
Good.
How's everything?
And for this first episode of the new year, we're joined by a special guest, Mr. Johnny Meads, a former linebacker in the NFL for the Houston Oilers and Washington Redskins. Thank you so much for being back on, sir. All right. But Mr. Johnny, thank you so much for being on this episode.
No problem. I appreciate you guys inviting me once again. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it definitely has. And for this episode, we have a lot of topics to get into for the NFL, college football, previewing the upcoming national championship. In the second half, we're going to do some album reviews. But to start off with just the major scare and unprecedented concern of the Damar Hamlin situation, and just how this impacted perspective on players' players' health. This past Monday night, Hamlin was in a critical condition in the hospital after going into cardiac arrest during the game against Cincinnati. Team officials said in a statement early Tuesday that Damar Hamlin's heart stopped after he was hit during a play in the first quarter. There have been updates on him doing better, but still in critical condition. And there's been talk about the league, just kind of forgetting this game, not replaying it, not even trying to pick it back up, and just moving forward for the season. But to you, Johnny, like what did you feel like when you saw that whole thing transpire, and just the major scare it caused for everybody?
It was obviously, like everybody was saying, we stopped in our tracks looking at what had transpired with all of the, the faces of the guys that were on the field, and making you think obviously about the young man and his well-being, his health. It's just something you have to take obviously into perspective and think about, stop and really realize that it can be a situation where it's easily a case where your livelihood, his as a football player, can be quickly taken away. Not to mention the biggest aspect of it is this, the virtually the whole world watching. That's exactly. That's the hugest the huge thing that I thought, and of course it happens all the time, where nobody's around and something happens to someone like that, but for it to be in front of such a large crowd and then such a large event, it really put a scare into everybody. And I was just listening to it. One more thing, the updates that were going on, and it's just it's thankful that we're thankful that he is improving in his condition.
Absolutely.
Yes.
For you, Savon, how did you feel about it when you first saw it, and obviously just the uncertainty in that moment, and also what was gonna happen after everything transpired?
Right. It instantly became bigger than football. And you see that just a normal play, hitting a guy, and then he just pauses and he just collapses. I've seen people tear their ACLs, get hit, get concussions, probably tweak an ankle, have shin splints, but I've never seen someone collapse on a football field like that. That was very scary. Instantly became bigger than football. I do agree. Don't even worry about playing this game. It's bigger than football at this point. I think the Bills would have won anyways, just to throw that out there. But I think it's bigger than football. I think his health is bigger. It's bigger than it, man. And I'm just glad that he's continuing to progress and being able to. And then it's funny. I saw that he asked the doctors on paper like who won the game. That is an athlete 1-on-1. Yeah. That's a competitor. Yeah, I probably would ask the same thing. Coming like, hey yo, who won? Like, did we win? Like, okay, but just health is bigger than football.
Yeah,
it's definitely
absolutely. And also, like, to you, Mr. Johnny, like seeing the things that happen to players after they're in the game, and just the concussion issues, and just like how it's tough for them to deal with life after football. Like, what are some of the biggest challenges for players that have to deal with that life after football, and just all the hits and kind of pounding that they really take throughout their career?
In this day and age, it's a lot that's been said about it. As older players, I'm right in that in that era where there you become so much more aware of it, right? So since the concussion protocol has been put into place, since there were situations where the league has the massive lawsuit about concussions out there.
Right.
It's so much more that's been put on us as players, and particularly former players. I mean, you can't even imagine how many times I've had to go down to Miami or go over to Jacksonville or go to LA for, oh, you've been called to have some
Right.
it's not surgery, but just tests to see what your neurocognitive situation is at this point. And what we're doing now is, as former players, is you're constantly checking out where you are. And of course, some players are much worse than others. I'm thankful that to this point I've not had anything that's been a major neurocognitive issue. I've been functioning fine, but there's so many of us, man, that are out there that's what the situation is now. They're shedding so much more light on this concussion issue, from the standpoint of letting us know where you are, and at the same time, a lot of us, I talk to a lot of our former players, and we get together. We kind of joke about it to some degree, but it's a case where it's really, really scary to think, okay, this is what's happening or could possibly happen to you. You can slowly from the hits and the things that you do out there on the field, you can slowly go into this all the things that surrounds this CTE situation.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why they're putting so much more emphasis on it. And in doing so, you're thinking about it a lot more. Is what the deal is. You're thinking about it as individuals. A lot of us are.
Yeah, definitely. And before we move on to college football, obviously with the season that we've been seeing so far, to you, Mr. Johnny, like what teams have kind of like stood out to you the most in terms of like who's been impressive, and also maybe the ones that have been kind of disappointing up to this point of the year?
Interestingly enough, for me, it's I think you, Savon, you're a Chiefs fan, right?
Packers.
Oh no! No.
You're Green Bay. Green Bay.
They're playing a flag.
But Green Bay's the one that I'm hoping that they can pull something out. And, I like the underdogs, guys.
Fingers crossed.
I wasn't.
Fingers crossed.
I remember, Savon, I hadn't been on in so long. I forget the teams. You guys hadn't invited me.
On me, that's on me.
No, fingers crossed that we get into the playoffs. That's the fingers crossed, because I gave up probably ninth game of the season. I'm gonna lie to you. Hey!
There's the surprise, though. Along with hoping that Dallas would come along, and guys, there's a lot of points to this. Dallas would come along and give the Eagles a challenge. You know what I mean? In that NFC East. Not to mention, I'm talking about the underdog team, not to mention in the up-and-coming teams, like the Giants. I mean, all of those teams, man, are the ones that's on my, radar as, the kind of teams that, can kind of do some damage here coming down the stretch or at the end of the season, or because they're in the playoffs. It's going to be interesting with those teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Savon, are the Packers going to make the playoffs versus Detroit?
Well, I hope so. I think we could beat Detroit. I think Detroit is on a winning streak right now, but I think we have found the groove. I think we found a groove. I think Aaron Rodgers is finally figuring out how to throw his wide receivers open and have that connection with these young wide receivers. And defense is playing really, really well, especially the secondary. And just we have a lot of injuries still on the defensive side. We have Rashawn Gary's out. We have a couple guys in the back. Amos is still banged up. So, but to be able to shut down Justin Jefferson the way they did, hats off
That's
to
a tall task.
Jair Alexander. Yeah,
Huge
tall task. And it just seems like I think it's going to the right direction. And I think Detroit, they're going to go 8-9. So here we go. Here we go.
And now transitioning to college football, obviously with TCU's thrilling win versus Michigan and kind of how they surprised many getting over them. They won 51-45 in the first CFP game at the Fiesta Bowl. Max Duggan had 4 touchdowns. TCU returned 2 interceptions for scores. And they also, withstood a furious rally for Michigan in the second half. And looking at this team and also this win all year, that they've kind of been doubted in many parts, but still they've been resilient. Max Duggan has been just a ferocious leader throughout many times when they've been down.
Yeah.
To you, Mr. Johnny, like what stood out to you in this win and just kind of how this game played out?
Well, their resilience. I mean, and not being intimidated by Michigan and their what was it, 13-0 or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not being intimidated by that, and I know TCU has been a perennial team down here, but teams up there and teams around the country didn't know, I mean, in their conference they've been pretty good, but teams didn't know just how good they were in coming on that national stage, and they just showed the type of team that they are.
Yeah.
As far as coming and handling a team like, which I'll be honest with you, I did not mind TCU winning. I like the idea that they did, although I was not thinking that they would.
Right. Yeah. I don't think not many were picking them.
People thinking if since they were in this, I guess in this now it's just 4-team hunt. I didn't think they. A lot of people didn't think that they would be one of the teams that would come out of it. But it is a pleasant surprise. Yeah. Although I kind of wanted
switch it up, a different team.
Yeah, very much so, very much so.
Yeah, absolutely. To you, Savon, what stood out to you in this game? Because like there were moments where Michigan could have come back and won it, but TCU, they found a way to close it out, and this was an extremely high scoring matchup.
Yeah. Well, Michigan fumbled the bag, literally. It comes down to red zone points. They were in the red zone 6 and 7 times, come out with 6 points. The first drive, they go 4. The play calling was questionable in the red zone. Why would you do a double reverse and you're on the half-inch line, 1 yard line, quarterback sneak? You have a higher percentage chance of getting a touchdown with a quarterback sneak. Keep it simple. I think in the big moments in the red zone, they outplayed themselves. It should have been a touchdown. Referees overturn it, and then you go into fumble the next play. So it came down to the red zone points and making mistakes when they should never make mistakes. TCU played a good game, but Michigan beat themselves. I'm just going to say it. Michigan beat themselves. We already know Duggan was going to be, terrific. He's going to run the ball. He's a dual threat quarterback. We already knew that, but Michigan fumbled the ball. And also, I didn't know Corman was out before the podcast. I thought he was actually playing, but then I see him in crutches. I'm like, okay, the running game is not going to be as potent as it normally is. That was a big thing too. They tried to go with Edwards. I think he had 23 attempts, 119 yards. But I think if Corum was there, that's a different 1-2 punch. Now you have to bring the safeties down. Now you stack in the box. Now you got outside guys one-on-one. And I think their wide receiver was more than enough to beat the TCU, but the running game wasn't as potent as it was if Corum was there.
Absolutely. And also, like, when you look at, to you, Mr. Johnny, what do you think Jim Harbaugh will do next? So some have said he might take the Denver job, with the Broncos coach being fired and maybe, team up with Russell Wilson. How do you think he's going to approach his next year? Or do you feel as though he wants to come back with Michigan and see, what type of run they can go on again?
It's 2 things actually. With him, he wants to, as we probably heard, you guys have probably heard, want to have take care of some unfinished business here in the NFL. Maybe going back to the NFL and winning a Super Bowl like he was not able to do when he was with the 49ers. But it's a hard one for me to determine. There are some obvious options for him as a coach. I think he's an excellent coach. I think he would be a good fit for not only the Broncos but the Colts as well, that have been looking at him. He played with them, played against them when he was with the Colts, and that might be a good idea for him. So he has quite a few options. I think at least a couple of really, really good options at this point. He's got
some good ones. Yeah,
that would be satisfying for him. But I really don't know what he's going to do. I think, gosh, if he's saying he's got unfinished business to come back to the NFL and win a Super Bowl, he just now, I don't know. It's a hard one for me to call. It's a really difficult one for me to call.
What do you think, Savon?
I think he should stay. I mean, you're 1 inch away from going to the playoffs and trying to, go for a national championship. You've been with Big Blue for 5+ years now. You're starting to finally create that niche and bringing that culture. Yeah, be Ohio State, but I think he got to do more in college football. There's some coaches that are great for NCAA, and there's some coaches that are great for NFL, and some are both. But I think Jim Harbaugh is a college coaching.
I'm not 100%. He's a college type coach, but I think he's NFL quality. There's some coaches like you say, Savon, that are college coaches. He can do both, but I think because of the type of coaching that the coaching pedigree that he has, I think he's more of an NFL. In my opinion, he's more of an NFL coach that has taken his game with Stanford, and don't forget San Jose State when he took him to prominence. He can do some things in college, but he would do so much. He could do so much on the NFL level, in my opinion.
Yeah. Let's wait and see. And see.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. No, for sure. You better make a move here shortly.
Sean Payton's out there. Sean Payton's going to come back too.
I'm sorry?
Say Sean Payton's going to come back too.
Sean McVay is trying to come back. Yeah.
But I think it's just a case where he needs to get some things together, like you said, Savon, in Ann Arbor. Mm-hmm. It's a tough call.
Yeah,
it really
is.
Yeah, definitely. And now moving on to Georgia's dramatic win versus Ohio State, and them pulling this off, off of a rally in the fourth quarter. They won 42-41 at the Peach Bowl. After being down 38-24, Stetson Bennett capped off Georgia's final comeback with a 10-yard last-minute scoring pass to Adonai Mitchell. And this also gives the Bulldogs, the chance to repeat. And for most of the game, it really felt as though Ohio State was going to win it. They thoroughly outplayed them. And especially when you saw that 4th and 1 when they were going to go for it, then Kirby Smart spotted it. That was, to me, like one of the biggest plays of the entire game for why they came back. To you, Mr. Johnny, what were your thoughts on this matchup? And just, it literally went down to the last seconds, and you can make a case Ohio State should have won it, but Georgia found a way to pull it off.
I love Ohio State's, their grit and them coming back, but it was simple. I hate to put it that simple, but it's just simply a missed kick. Just missing the field goal made. That's all it is, and we just never like kickers because they can do things like that. But that's what it simply boiled down to for me. Just a missed kick, and just like Michigan would be going home, Georgia would be going home if it wasn't for a simple missed kick. It was very, very interesting to see how the quarterback for Ohio State just methodically played and took his team to because that was the deal, just like we do in the NFL. Like, don't leave that much time on the clock.
Oh yeah, and can't do that.
when he saw that, we saw it on the sideline. I did saw it on the sideline. That's what he was hoping. They're gonna score, quickly enough and leave us with some time on the clock. And he I think he did an outstanding job as far as you know, bringing his team back and putting them in position to win. It was just a simple miss of a field goal that had them going home.
Yeah, absolutely. To you, Savon, what were your thoughts on how this game ended, and also just all the different variables in it? Obviously, the missed kick is the biggest thing decided the game. But
Yeah,
how did
yeah.
you feel as though the what really decided the fourth quarter playing out the way it did?
Did not expect this to go down to the wire. What we talked
Yeah,
about with me, you, and Tyler on the podcast prior, did not think it was going to go down. I knew Stroud is going to play a good game, but I didn't foresee him playing an excellent game. He was
Oh my
he
God.
was spot on, precise, moving through the pocket, trusting his offensive line, and talk about his wide receivers. I already knew Marvin Harrison Jr. was going to go crazy, but I didn't know Egbuku or whatever his name, Mbaku or Slakatu. I didn't know he was going to go that crazy. But I think they were trying to double Marvin Harrison a little bit, which is going to leave one-on-one coverage with the other receiver, and he ate the entire game. But Stetson Bennett looked like he wasn't ready for the moment. Like he was too pumped for the moment, but he had to calm down. That interception right after Ohio State goes and score and throws the interception quick and not letting it read and trusting his offensive line. It didn't
that we're
seem
used
like
to
the
seeing.
regular Stetson
Yeah,
Bennett that we've seen all year,
Agreed.
right? And I talked about a team being perfect to be able to beat Georgia
they
Bulldogs.
played. Yeah,
They played perfect football, and it came down to the wire,
That's
and
it.
they missed the field goal. So, Georgia
It was
Bulldogs,
a very
yeah,
good game.
ooh,
Very good
yeah,
game to watch. And Ohio State,
very, very good game.
that
Yes, it
quarterback,
was.
said some. He was. When I looked at him prior to the game, when you see a guy just in that what seemed to be in a zone, he played like it, right, guys?
Right.
Whenever he
Mm.
lined up and started, he did a magnificent job as far as getting his team in position to win. He
definitely.
did everything all game
Yes.
long, and then not to mention the latter part of the game to get them in position to win.
Absolutely. And now
Yeah.
getting into which I mean, I don't think most of us pick Georgia TCU by the end of the year, but for this national championship, I mean, obviously TCU they have one of the best quarterbacks in the country with Max Duggan. He led the Big 12,
Yeah.
ranked 10th in passing efficiency, plus a 27 career rushing touchdowns. And like we talked about many times, Savon, with Georgia, their tight ends, what they have there is just it's really phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it just really stands out to you. But to you, Mr. Johnny, what do you feel as though will kind of be the key elements and X factors for this championship, and what will decide it?
Wow. The it always obviously comes down to the quarterback.
Right.
Um, you know,
Yeah.
with the kid from TCU being as poised and ready for the moment
Mm-hmm.
as he has shown virtually all year.
Right.
I think Stetson Bennett will, as you said, he didn't play up to it, Savon, to what you thought Stetson Bennett should play in the game against Ohio State. But I think, that being said, he's going to come. This kid's he's been um, the TCU quarterback. It's been his year this year, but Stetson Bennett. This has been the things that he's done.
Right.
Since walking on. As a quarterback and
Mhm.
being the unsung guy. Too small, all those kinds of things.
Right.
I think he's going to. I think he's going to rise to the challenge. Um, and they know. I think Georgia know they didn't play their best game, and I think they're going to hopefully put that out there. Put their best game out there. Seeing as they got that opportunity from that missed kick, that missed field goal, they're gonna assess things and see that they could and probably should play a lot better.
Yeah. Absolutely. To
Yeah.
you, Savon, what do you think will decide this matchup, and kind of like the players and maybe X factors that stand out to you in this one?
So we're gonna look at what they did to beat Michigan, right? And we talked about
Right.
the red zone play, them not, Michigan not being able to capitalize on red zone points and being in that. And you look at Georgia, who's the number one red zone offense in all college football. And like Mr. Meads just said, that they didn't play up to their abilities. They've been to the national championship before. They knocked off the top guy, Alabama, last year, 33-18, I believe. So I think Georgia knows what to do to get there. Obviously, they're there and they know how to win that game. I expect Stetson Bennett to be the Stetson Bennett that we've seen all year. Poised game manager, trusting his offensive line, leading on the tight ends, leading on the running game, and trick plays. Georgia loves running trick plays, and they're really, really good at it. We saw that in the opening game against Oregon. They love getting their playmakers the ball in their hands. So TCU is going to have to keep up. Can they do this a second time around? They got lucky, I believe, with Michigan. Can they get lucky with the Georgia Bulldogs? Can they be perfect against the Georgia Bulldogs?
One more thing is Kirby Smart. That's going to be a big X factor. I mean, he being the coach that's been there and done that, along with what you said, Savon, being in that moment now, having been there, that's going to be where Kirby Smart also has his team to rise to the occasion. I think he's going to be an X factor in this deal.
And I mean, if Georgia does pull this off, I mean, it's been rare for the last several years for us to see back-to-back champions in college football. Like, do you feel as though, like Mr. Johnny, when you look at this Georgia team, do you feel as though they can have the semblance of possibly being like the new feared team in college football? Because for so many years it was Alabama. It was just like, that's the team you have to compare yourself. Do you think if they pull this off, they can kind of be that new team that you have to compare yourself consistently every season?
Yeah, of course they would have to, because of what you just said, what they've done over the years. I mean, we thought it was going to be Clemson, right? That was going to be doing this, take the mantle from Alabama. But it's been shown here in the last few years that sure, Georgia could be that team that can probably be the dynasty of college football, possibly. I'm gonna also say I don't see it, but it could be. It could be because it's so the college football scene is so what do you say? There's so many opportunities that might be for other perennial players to go to other teams and make their mark. I don't think it's like the Alabama where Alabama just gets all the players. I think it's going to be a lot of it's going to be more evened out. I think it's the reason why someone like Georgia is not going to be the team like in Alabama, although they could.
Yeah, definitely could be. So, Savon, do you think that this could possibly be the next dynasty in college football?
I think so. And I say this for a couple of reasons. One, we see what Georgia have been through the past, 10, 15 years of, the Mark Rich era, and then Kirby Smart's coming in 2016 and kind of changing the mental standpoint of these players, right? Let's get back into what Georgia was feared. The running game, the RBU. Now let's get some quarterbacks in there. Now we bring tight ends, wide receivers, the recruiting process a little better. Now we get kids to want to come here. And now we're seeing fruition of what Kirby Smart has put into fruition. Not to use fruition twice in one sentence, but it's okay. We got to keep going, guys. But no, I think Georgia is the new powerhouse to be able to be all SEC teams this year, which is crazy. The past 2 years, unheard of, right? And then I think the quarterback situation after Stetson Bennett is going to be a good one. You still have the top tight end guys, your running backs, wide receivers. Defense still looks good after getting rid of like 9 players last year. So I think they're in good hands. I think they handle TCU, and then they go to the next year and can repeat the cycle. It took not Urban Meyer, but Nick Saban years to build that dynasty as well. I think Kirby Smart has a good formula for that.
Yeah, but before we wrap up, a very surprising bowl outcome with USC's blown lead versus Tulane, and it was one that it seemed like they definitely had it, but Tulane won the Cotton Bowl 46-45 after overcoming multiple double-digit deficits and scoring in the final seconds. Last year, Tulane was 2-10. This year, they finished 12-2. Had a great turnaround season. But to you, Mr. Johnny, like what were your thoughts on how this game ended? I mean, obviously USC, they had the Heisman winner, but just a type of ending you wouldn't want for your team to have.
It was like unbelievable, to be honest with you. With USC having again the Heisman Trophy winner and all those types of things. The fact that they had the tough go against Utah, right?
Yeah,
you know, so it's it wasn't a case where you think that it would happen, that a situation like that would happen, but because of the way things are in college football, you're seeing what TCU did to Michigan, those types of things. That kind of stuff can happen, I think, in the landscape of college football.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Savon, how did you feel about the way that ended? Obviously, it seemed like one of those other games that kind of like USC was kind of be in cruise control in the final minutes, but really fell apart at the end.
Yeah, I mean, hats off to Tulane, man. Coming from a 2-10 season and going 12-2, man, that is no small feat for sure. And what Mr. Johnny was referring to, I think things are on the leveling playing fields. You have the transfer portal; guys can go as they please without any repercussions to that. Now, teams like Tulane have a chance to beat USC in a bowl game. Right. And then you get USC, who spends $10 million on their head coach and another $10 million for recruiting and all this stuff to lose to a team who was just 2-10 last year. So NCAA is heading to the direction that is funny, but I love the leveling playing field. But man, Tulane played a heck of that's why you never give up until it's 0-0.
But to the point, guys, you remember going back to that last point, Tyler, that's why I think, and you made my point though, Savon. That's why with Georgia being this perennial powerhouse, you talking. That's the same thing I was talking about with how things can be in the landscape of college football. It's going to be tough for someone to be, a perennial powerhouse.
But it's it's a difference with recruiting. You've been a recruiter for Mr. Johnny. Certain ball clubs or organizations, attract different ball. When they leave, okay, that's cool. But if you get 5-star, I think Georgia's still top 5 in recruiting for the 2023 class. So, Alabama still gets the good recruits. Georgia, those teams have the Power 5 teams still get it. But I think the transfer portal is where it's kind of like level the playing field. But I do get what you're saying. But I do think Georgia has a good formula for recruiting players because they have 5 tight ends that could have played and started anywhere in NFL.
Playing on
right now.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Johnny, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on, and thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. It was fun. We'll see what happens going down the stretch, huh?
Yeah.
Definitely. Well,
all right.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the show, and now we're getting to the second half of our topics with our album reviews. And to start off with our first album review, Robert Glasper's Black Radio 3. In his latest project, Glasper's aim is for music of comfort and solace. He's also allowed to kind of, get into a beat maker bag, and this was, a successful merging and completing of multiple interests. But what were your thoughts on this project? Because this was one that had an array of R&B artists. It had just a lot of different type of sounds with jazz and hip hop kind of combining. What did you feel about the project, and just, what stood out to you the most?
Yeah, this was dope, bro. I love the different elements of music that's in here. Like you have the rap, you have the soul, you have the kind of like the pop in there. You got Mac Miller, you got PJ Morton, you got BJ the Chicago Kid, Killer Mike. Like, all of these, especially BJ Chicago Kid, I think he's so underrated as a singer. I listened to him live at at a Big Crit concert.
Wow.
And I tell you, that man can sing. So just to be able to get all of these personalities.
That's the test. When it's live. When it's live, that's when you really know.
Oh, yeah. We see Who is it? A lot of singers not do so well when it's live. You know, I always go back to the Fergie
Fergie.
thing. And I used to love the Black Eyed Peas, man. But no, I thought this was a great album to be able to collaborate with different personalities and different styles of music to be able to put this in a full length project. Yeah, it's it was I think it was a 2-part one. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
2 part.
part. Yeah, 2 parts. But I thought it was really good. Some of these people that I did not know about, so I'm glad that he did have them, so I can hear that type of sound. And he had Music Soul Child on this. I mean, who he had to be sitting on this music, bro. Like,
Come on,
it's
man.
so
Come on. This was
many.
stored up. This was stored up for a
Jennifer
while.
Hudson too. Like, he
Yeah.
had these songs since like 2005, bro.
Yeba as well.
Yes,
I mean, like,
yes. It was good. So that's what it was, the beauty about this, that he had to. Well, he was able to get all of these artists on here because every artist has a gem. They're a gem in their self, and to be able to put them on the same album, bro, that's crazy. He has.
it definitely is, because he's had multiple installations of Black radio. Whatever he does next is gonna. I can't wait to see what he, because it's something you can continue on.
Yes.
I mean, like, this is something you can keep going on with. Like, do you
Yes.
feel as though he just kind of has the right ear for, like, yeah, this artist is gonna sound right here.
Yes.
This rapper, like, you feel it's one of those just like natural kind of inclinations of this is gonna be the right fit for this song.
Oh, for sure. And I think the artists trust him to be able to get this many artists. I don't know if it may be songs that, like we said, he sat on and collaborated with them before. It was like, oh, I'm not going to use that. I'm going to wait for it, which I'm glad he did wait for it. But to be able, these artists be able to trust him in it when he sends these, like, he got Q-Tip on here, bro. Q-Tip is so crazily good. Like, I didn't hear him on another track since Innocent Pack with the Oxnard beat, bro. Yeah, so to be able to have all these artists, and they have to trust his ear. He has a good ear for music. So I think him being able to put all these artists on one track or kind of create this ensemble to get these guys on the track is really dope. He definitely has an ear for music, for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. And now moving on to our next review with C.S. Armstrong's "Let the People Decide." In his latest album, there's a mix of soul, blues, and hip hop that kind of really utilized the new while resonating with the old. What were kind of your initial thoughts on this album? It had a plethora of different sounds in it, and he also included a lot of emotional transparency.
I didn't know who this guy was, to be honest.
A new up and comer, yeah.
Who did you put me on? You put me on another guy that I started liking and listening to his music. Dixon.
Dixon, yeah.
Dixon is another R&B. Yeah, he has that was a great body of work. I still listen to this day. So I always got to give Wellington his flowers. If y'all have heard this podcast 1,000 times, every time we do music reviews, I have to give Wellington his flowers. But no, I thought this was a good vibe. I thought this was a particular project that you really have to, like, clear space for. You can't be doing.
This was one when I was like driving around, like I just had to I gotta listen to this. I gotta listen to this while
you have to really give it your all, and that's not a bad thing, because I think it really resonates, and then it's a good body of work. So, like, when the first song, I was like, okay, let me really give him a try. Let me really give him a listen. So I just, like, sat on the couch, press play, and I just, like, closed the eyes and let the ears take over my entire body. So I thought it was a great body of work. But only thing is not this, because we talked about this before. It's like when you like fall in love with a project or a single of an artist, you want to go back and listen to their previous music, and sometimes their previous music don't hit the same, and I don't want to do that. And I'm slow playing doing that, but I think I should, because I really enjoyed his body of work. I think he's a phenomenal
Sometimes you just gotta sit with the project. Sometimes you just gotta sit with the project for a little bit.
Sit with the project, and then I'm like, okay, all right, then
Let's see what else he did.
Exactly, because there's a lot of artists I'm like, yo, okay, I see why. Okay.
But I'm just finding out about you.
Took the words right out my mouth, brother. If it wasn't for Wellington Birds, I would not have heard of it.
And I mean, like a lot of times, like especially like you said, he made you think of another artist like Dixon. Do you feel as though that also takes it does take time for you to kind of warm up to an artist, but even after that intro, do you feel as though this was, because I feel when I first heard this project, the intro to me wasn't one that like grabbed my attention
No.
immediately, but as that the rest of the album was just a straight run through
Yes.
for me.
And
That
that's
the intro
mhm.
was literally the only thing I wasn't a big fan of.
Right. And that's why I was like, okay, let me really give him a listen. Because out of the intro, Never Leave God Behind, I was like, okay, that's all right, maybe. And then you have to like really give it a
So
listen
listen,
to
yeah,
give it a try. So once you do that and you do, okay, second track, third track, and then you start, and then it flows well. It's just a great body of work. But the intro, all right, bro, C.S. Armstrong, probably Christopher Staten Armstrong or something.
he's definitely a Christopher.
You better get your intro right next time, brother.
Yeah,
But
intro is big for us. Intro is
yes,
huge. It's
it's
huge.
literally the intro to the. It has to grab us enough.
Oh yeah.
Tyler said that the last podcast that first listenability for Beyonce was crazy.
Oh yeah, he loved it.
That so it has to be, your intro has to grab us, not choke us. If you got a choking intro, it is that good, I don't have to listen to the rest of your album.
I don't even
But
want to listen to anything.
right, if I get choked out the first song,
I'm
I'm
good.
scared. I am scared for the rest. But no, but at least have to grab the listener enough for us to be like, okay, this is worth my time. Just like, and I'm crazy that I'm quoting Tyler. You can't waste my time when it comes to music, like,
Mm-hmm.
because we really love music. So if we give your music a shot, you better not disappoint us. And that goes for Wellington too, because if Wellington brings something to the table, that means he like it. Or he is good
Exactly. I'm not
enough.
going to include it in the topic list.
Exactly. It's good enough to make it to Full Scope
Make
Podcast. I learned that a long time ago.
Definitely. You learned that all right. He likes this. He likes that.
Right, yeah. Okay, I know what style of music Wellington's like. It's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And now get into our next review with Trevor Jackson's "Show Me Diamonds" EP. In his latest one, released last November, it includes a previously shared title track, which was kind of a fusion of R&B drill. Jackson said he wanted to be more vulnerable in this EP with being also more open in terms of the subject matter, and this was also his first project release since the 2021 Love Language, and an album that we reviewed early on. But what were your initial thoughts on this EP? Because EPs are definitely things that it's important, because it shows like what's going to be the lead up to your next body of work. But what were kind of some of your takeaways in what he was putting together for this one?
I'm more and more becoming a Trevor Jackson fan. And music wise, and we talked about him like eons ago, like, one time you have to choose what you're going to do, because he's
acting or a musician.
And I think he's finally saying, okay, I did a plethora of things when it comes to film and TV shows. Like, okay, I think music is his first love. I'm just guessing.
I definitely
but I thought this was really solid. I'm more and more becoming a Trevor Jackson fan. And he can sing. He has a decent range, but I like how he writes. His writing ability is really nice. Like Get to You is still one of my favorites. I thought that was a good, and then the music video was, he's an actor. Like this, it's an
that's unfair. That's unfair. You can do it. The music video too.
Right, exactly. So I think his writing ability is crazy. So I thought this was very solid. I thought possibly Show Me Diamonds would have never made it. I don't think I'm really a big fan of Show Me Diamonds, or just like the production of it, but I like the lyrics, but just the production I didn't really like. So I thought everything else was solid. I thought that one should have made it, but it intrigues me what other songs that he didn't want to put on there or took off or whatever. But I think that's the beauty about EPs. You get to experiment a little bit. You get to see what works and what doesn't work. So
the fact that you and me both love Get to You just shows how toxic guys can be. Some things we do just to get back at a girl. Like, I'm gonna show off. For
real. For real, to this day. To this day. Oh my gosh, that's very toxic, Wellington. Yes, it is.
But when you look at, obviously, an artist in his position, do you feel as though it takes like a couple years or maybe a few years to really pick out to for them to know like, hey, this I want to do music more than acting, or acting more than music, or one of those things where they just get to that point of like, yeah, this is what I'm really comfortable in for my first option.
I think it comes with the success of either. So I mean, he's very successful with obviously Grownish, and then he
Yeah.
played that movie when he had the perm. Forgot the music. What is it called? Not P Valley. Oh my gosh, no. Not that one. He was a priest in a movie. Like his name was
Oh,
Priest. That movie, that was a really good move film. He's done some other stuff here and there. So I think it's once you see the progression and also just the overall success of people wanting to hear your music more. And I think
right.
it's a place where your fans are wanting you to okay, we like you acting, but I think you should come back to music because I wanted him
Mhm.
because it's he dropped I think a old project probably a year or two ago, and then after that he was just focusing on Grownish, and now that
Yeah,
he's dropping new music, it's okay. Let's go.
he's
All
gearing
right.
up for something else. Yeah.
Exactly. So now I think you should take a break because you can't focus on both of them. Because
Mhm.
yeah,
One's
if
gonna suffer.
exactly. So music it's up now. So, but I think it's more
Definitely.
so just can I really do this? Can I really have success at it?
Absolutely. And now getting to our last review with Kota the Friend's memo. In his new album, this was very reminiscent of some of his previous work, but also comes with with significant process. It contains his signature neo soul and jazz inspired beats, but the progression of the album also has a design that is just 100% intentional and straightforward. And to me, like Kota, he really brings so much to the table as a rapper. He's transparent. He's a storyteller, and really digs deep into what his lyrics are trying to bring, are trying to convey. But what did you think about this album, and what he was communicating throughout it?
First and foremost, I love the cover art. This cover art
Yeah,
was really dope. I
it's
thought it
fire.
was is very aesthetic. Second of all, yes, he's a great storyteller. He's a great storyteller, and I think he has an incredible voice. Um, and I think he's a great writer. First and foremost, he has the cadence. He checks boxes. I think the biggest thing is the storytelling that's missing. Yeah, you can. It's. I feel like there's a difference between lyricism and storytelling. It has similarities, but storytelling is literally like vivid. A vivid, I can really see it, and I think lyricism you add bars in there just as well as and I think it's a combination of bars and being able to storytell. But just storytelling, I think Coda is amazing
Oh
at
yeah.
it, and I think he has that rare ability to be able to make you relate with you don't even want to relate.
Mhm.
Like, but I feel every part of my favorite probably is he had a great intro. 365 Days of Peace was I thought was a dope track. Jumpman was a dope track. Mama T's interlude. I'm a sucker for interludes.
Yeah, interludes are amazing.
Soho House was good with Hello Shay. I don't even know who that person was, but it's great when you find out more music from other people. And I know Coda because of we've reviewed some of his work before, and
Yeah,
then I
yeah,
see him collab with Smino a couple times.
yeah.
What's the other producer that Smino works with all the time? I can't remember his name escapes me, but he GID like shouted him out a couple times. So Good Friday was a good one. Dad's Interlude was another good one. I'm a sucker for interludes, but I thought this was very solid project, and his storytelling is very rare. Like he's a
Yeah.
great storyteller, great storyteller.
It really is. I mean, I feel as though he's the type of artist who's comfortable with not comfortable in terms of like where he's at progressing, but
Mhm.
he doesn't have as big of an audience as other artists do. Do you feel as though he kind of is on it is probably like in his own niche element, knowing hey, this is who I can really communicate to, and I
Yeah,
don't really have to get any bigger or even get on a wider scale to get to where I want to get to.
some artists don't even want that. Some artists just doing it because they love to do music, and eventually he'll probably do get the fan base or the bigger fan base
Yeah.
or the more recognition from other artists around in the industry. But if you're in a nice groove and you're just loving to do music and people just gravitate to it, that's a win, bro.
It
Some of
is.
these some of these guys just do music just to tell their story or just be able to vent or just like it's an escape. So if people gravitate to you just being able to event and be creative, that's a win. Sometimes you don't need, like, I said this before. Boz is another one. He's literally the Tim Duncan of rapping.
Oh yeah.
He's so consistent, big fundamental, doesn't really care about the accolades or the numbers. He just does music. And like, that's the beauty of it. Like, if people love it, that's cool. But I know I love my music. So I think Kota the Friend probably thinks the same way. Like, I'm just like telling my piece. I'm just telling my story.
Yeah, tell my story.
That's it. If you don't gravitate to it, fine. If you do, thumbs up,
that's a win.
It's a win.
Definitely. And there were a couple of things I wanted to get to before we close out. This year, are there any particular artists or any albums that you're like, I could use this. I'm looking forward to this and anticipating at the top of the year.
I need a Drake and Lil Baby collaboration since you want to give us that 21 Savage crap. I need that.
You want him to do another collab album?
Yeah, with Lil Baby this time, and it's gonna be fire. Because every time they collab, it's insane. It's insane. It's so good. I'm looking for I need another Kendrick album.
I was about to mention Kendrick because New York Times just mentioned him as the greatest rapper of this generation. Do you agree?
Yes. Okay. He's the full package. He's the full package.
Full skill set.
Yeah, Drake is amazing, but when it comes to
Drake is Drake is an amazing rapper. Like, I think he's one of the best we've ever had, but Kendrick. He can do anything as an artist. And I think Kendrick's more focused on just strictly rap than Drake would be.
But he gives us that, radio stuff and all that. But I think subject matter matters, and I hate to say that, matters when it comes to hip hop. And I think Kendrick is the embodiment of hip hop. So he literally is the best rapper of our generation, and J. Cole is number 2. And I put J. Cole number 2 because I think Kendrick is a better writer than J. Cole. J. Cole don't get me wrong, J. Cole is that guy. But when it comes to Kendrick, it's different. It seems effortless, but anywho, I want to I want another Kendrick album with Baby Keem, sorry.
I think that's coming. Yeah, I definitely see a collab album with them coming.
There's 2 more artists. I need another Reason album.
Oh yeah.
One more. I'll give you one more. I'm looking forward to
I'm looking for this is a shot in the dark for Frank Ocean. If Frank Ocean drops something this year, I think that would be special.
That man's still a nurse. He ain't worried about it. He's supposed to come out last year with something. Come on, bro.
Or Rihanna. I mean, you're performing the Super Bowl, so I mean, I know you got some new music coming. Rihanna
better be better than that one single she just dropped.
Yeah.
That was
that was not a Rihanna single. That was not the Rihanna single we needed.
What, are you trying to be an activist, bro? Like, bro, that's not your lane, bro. That's not your lane in the music. Mm-hmm. Why? That's what you're supposed to give us. Don't give us I can't remember how the song goes. That's how bad it was to me. A lot of people loved it, but I just didn't love it. But I'm not even looking for a Rihanna album. Rihanna's music thing, I'm so numb. She hasn't dropped music in so long, and then you drop that, I'm not waiting for anything.
Singles matter, guys. Singles matter.
Singles matter. Ooh, give me. Oh my gosh!
I think another J. Cole album. I could use that.
Yeah, now you can have that.
Man, you're off J. Cole.
That last album, bro.
The off season. I can't believe you didn't like the off season.
Did not hit for me, bro. It did not hit for me. Oh, a Murray album. Because I saw a recent interview of him. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was agreeing. I was agreeing as well. Yeah, Murray definitely. That'll be dope.
I watched a recent interview with him. I forgot who was interviewing, but he was talking about he was been ready for an album, and he was like he'll always hit up J. Cole and be like, "Hey, bro, I got this album," and he'll like, "Yeah, send it over." He was like, "Bro, you're not ready." Like to J. Cole, he was like, "Bro, it hurts, but I need that." But he was like, "Man, I finally got something I think is ready." in the interview said like, have you sent it to Cole? He was like, no, but I want to surprise him how good it is. So I think he's gonna drop it this year. So I'm looking for Murray album,
like that.
A full body of work, because
Yeah.
he's been dropping singles here and there, but I want to hear a full body of work. Are you really ready for it? Are you going to capitalize on what you've done so far, or are you going to mildew? So that's what I'm ready for. Yeah.
We're definitely waiting on that one. That one, because when J. Cole says it's not ready, you definitely. I mean, he's a barometer for that type of music.
Yes.
But hopefully it's a surprise that J. Cole likes.
Yeah, and everybody else too. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that wraps it up for tonight. I'm your host, Wenza Burns. I'm my counterpart, Savon Morris. This has been Full Scope. See you later.